Let's begin today's roundtable, which is about leveraging rituals to boost community engagement. Now, rituals are probably a less talked about aspect of community management. We talk about growth, measurement, and a lot of things, but rituals is less spoken, and that was one of the intentions to choose this topic. And the another intention is to understand rituals in the right depth, so that you can really utilize it as a tool to boost your community engagement. Community engagement is very much the devil in the community space because everybody suffers or struggles from it. And we hope that today's session helps you understand rituals in a way that you can boost your community engagement. So let's begin from defining the definition of a ritual. As we know, community management is an evolving discipline. People have different contexts. So different ideas manifest themselves in different contexts. But in a very root level, a ritual is basically a set of daily actions and choices that we make and that shapes our future. The most accessible example probably would be in the fitness space, right? Or even finance. Savings is a form of ritual, or doing a particular number of push-ups is a ritual that you do. Your larger objective is to be healthy, and push-ups is a ritual for that. You have a regimen, and each of the regimen can be further split into ritual. So these actions and choices as a routine, right? The routine word is the most important. If you do it as an event, as an occasion, it cannot be classified as a ritual. But if you do it consistently over a period of time, you can classify it as a ritual. Now, we also want to be mindful that rituals are not confused with habits or rewards. These are different things. And in one of the upcoming slides, we'll talk about it. So as we read in the first slide, it's about a routine and it's about actions and choices. So you can break down the actions and choices into daily, weekly, or monthly, depending on your context. Fatigue is real. So we have to be very mindful that we don't fatigue our members, and rituals ought to be fun, right? So you have to be very innovative while thinking of them. If you give them a task or an assignment, they may not be motivated. That will, rather than boosting your engagement, it will impact your engagement negatively. So inherently, rituals ought to be something that members get pulled towards. That is the science and art of designing the right rituals. And if you are innovative, it can help you stand out as a community. It can help you enable deeper connections between members. Peers in a particular community can come together to create their own rituals. And that's why listening to the community members is equally important. Now, most of us exist in an online community environment. So whether you take a ritual, task, or anything else, most of it manifests itself in the form of content. Whether it is a ritual based on commenting something, interacting, sharing, whether it is a picture that you have shared after completing a particular choice or an action, you inform other people in the online community, and inadvertently that becomes a piece of content. So if you have certain rituals that you have deployed in your community, or you're working towards creating certain rituals, it becomes a form of content for you, and it also helps you to drive your content programming. So in a social media environment on Instagram, you might have come across Monday motivation or Throwback Thursdays. Some communities, one of our volunteer leaders was sharing yesterday in our pre-event catch-up that they do a weekly poll. Now, because this weekly poll regularly happens, it becomes a ritual. Traditionally, we have seen people describing newspaper reading as a ritual. So there are so many rituals we perform on a day-to-day basis without necessarily realizing that it is a ritual. We ought to do it. It has become a force of habit. It has become something that we are fond of. And as a community manager, I think that is the objective, that somewhere you try to cultivate rituals in your community so that it becomes a culture and it creates belonging between your members. And while you're creating that, it's essentially co-creating. So involving your inner circle, just to define for the uninitiated, is a group of people who is highly invested in your community. So they can be moderators, they can be super users, they can be people who are like very vocal ambassadors of your cause, of your product, and they can be utilized in creating rituals because they understand and they represent the community in the most appropriate way. And when you create something along with them, it has a higher chance of success, because this is the same group of people which will hold your back, and when you make a post, they will come and comment, they will tag other people, and that way you are really able to create a community impact. The ideas of rituals haven't been something that are very nascent, right? Rituals have existed forever. Wherever you want to take inspiration for rituals, you can take that, whether it is pop culture, spirituality, or the traditional religions, festivals. Largely, culture is the playbook for discovering new rituals and creating some context-driven rituals for your own community. So let's talk a little bit about what kind of inspiration do you need for rituals, or where you can take that inspiration on the next slide. Before inspiration, I think we want to share with you this interesting diagram that we came up with, which will help you deepen your understanding of a ritual. All of us are familiar with leaderboards, gaming points, badges. Now, if I complete a particular milestone in a community, I get some sort of a badge, which is a form of reward. Or I get some sort of a giveaway or swag when I join a new company or achieve a milestone in a community. Now, is that reward, the badge, a ritual? No, but it can be a gateway to a ritual. Similarly, when you ask your community members to introduce themselves during the onboarding process, or when you ask your community members to act in a particular way in the community, in some sense, a form of habit, that habit can also become a gateway for ritual. But an habit alone cannot be a ritual. And let's understand that your individual rituals might be different and community rituals are different. Community rituals have to be cherished together. You might have your individual ritual of visiting a particular community and browsing through what's new is happening, but that will not necessarily classify as a community ritual. It has to be something that is cherished together. And rewards and habits both serve as gateways. You can imagine the habits and rewards as potential rituals, but not synonymous to rituals. And similarly, Vineet made an interesting point yesterday that so let's take an example of a running community, right? If you finish a run, people go for celebration. Now, does ritual have to be always a task or a form of deliverable or a form of contribution that you make? It doesn't have to be. If you have the ritual of celebrating within a community and where people come together after one person's success or accomplishment, or whether a bunch of people's accomplishment, they can together celebrate, and that becomes a ritual. And the way it bonds your community together is when your old members cultivate this ritual and for any reason they exit out of the community or they are not there, the ritual kind of still stays there, because those people who have been on the receiving end of the celebration will do it for the newer members, the newer people who have achieved the milestone recently. So, I mean, let's analogously, you would have farewell programs in colleges, right? Where the senior class gives a farewell and they try to carry it forward to the junior batches. Isn't that a form of ritual? It can be. So the reason we have put rituals at the intersection of habits, rewards, and celebrations is mainly because we want to define or present an ideal ritual as a combination of all these three things. If you have a habit alone, without a sense of celebration, without a sense of reward, it may not sustain itself. Of course, there are contexts where habits alone themselves have that stickiness, where community members regularly perform something. If they are in a fitness community, they might have certain habits without the need of a reward. But even in those cases, making it rewarding, making it celebratory definitely enhances the association. And it's a means to honor the relationship in the members. If you take the example of Indian culture or Indian marriages, we have all come across variety of rituals that are designated for a particular relationship. The bride's brother will do something, the groom's parent will do something. Even if it's a very traditional way, you can always take inspiration from these systems and honor particular relationships. So you can define a particular ritual as per the status of your members or as per the journey. If somebody has completed 3 years in your community, you can have a particular ritual which is exclusive to them. So rituals, while it has to be co-created and something where multiple members have to participate, you can always create slabs of rituals, right, which are particularly performed or available for a particular cohort of your community, not necessarily the entire community. And then those rituals become aspirational for other people. They function as some sort of reward, celebration, and habits all together. So hope that gives you a good sense of these terms and these concepts. Now we have inspired you to create community rituals. We have talked about what is a ritual. It's an effort. It's definitely an effort that you have to put in. Why would you put in? What is the benefit of it? How will you justify what you're doing to your company? How will you translate into a KPI? How will you vocalize that what you're doing is worth doing? So these are some of our suggestions that you can utilize while you're thinking about investing your time in ritual creation or communicating the value to your company. Some of the benefits that rituals have is, first of all, gives members a sense of discipline and habit. Notifications, app opens, people not visiting your community. It's been long since they have come back. What if you give them a ritual as a hook? Wouldn't they come for that? Now, this ritual can be a person-driven ritual or a content-driven ritual. You can design them. Let's talk in the roundtable breakout rooms better about it and come back again to share our own share of ideas. It can also create an essence of belongingness. What is an essence of belongingness? I think like we gave the example of an apron. Not every university has the same kind of apron, right? Doctors and lawyers tend to have more standardized ones, but the convocation ceremonies customize it. They give it their own twist. So similarly, it gives, when you do these kind of twists, it gives a sense of belonging, a sense of tribe for people, and that naturally increases member participation. People come together for that sense of identity. While they are coming together in an online community environment, they come together through, like we discussed, online content. So that gives you a structured and reliable content calendar, right? So if you have designated certain days or certain dates for particular rituals, you're sorted for that day. You can invoke participation from your members by posting something and seeking responses. And you can involve your old members, the inner circle, in executing those rituals. You as community manager don't have to implement everything. You have to design and take the initiative. But your community members who are older, who are more active, they can be your co-creators in that. And the most important point, these 3 words at the end of the slide: identity, onboarding, and exit. Identity, like I gave the example of Zomans, Trailblazers. When you create rituals, you can choose specific words which people use before creating a particular kind of post, or they call each other with a particular name, with a particular title. That definitely gives them a sense of fellowship. And when you onboard people, you welcome them with that sense of fellowship. You help them break the ice with each other through certain commonalities that exist. And these are mediums of rituals, right? They can become more effective depending on your community's context, but largely these are some of the popular ways. We have put the word exit particularly because we think exit doesn't get spoken enough about. Onboarding definitely has enough attention, but there are members who are not able to remain in the community for one or the other reason. Now, do you have to, can you make it graceful? Can you give them, can you give them a sense that they can come back to you? They can rely on you, and for whatever reason they're not being active, can you empathize with them and understand them? So if there is an exit, you can definitely create an exit ritual. If you look at life, I think as civilizations, we have created rituals to mark almost every important celebration and occasion across our lives, right from birth to death to marriage to convocation to getting a new job. We do it in our own ways, and similarly, these ideas can be implemented in your communities also. Moving on to last couple of sites, and then we'll soon begin the breakout rooms. While you're doing these things, we have a couple of tips for you. In the beginning, whatever ritual you're creating, you have that clarity, you have that conviction, the members don't. So hang on there, put a little bit of extra effort. In the first few days, you may not get a response. But when people see that you're showing up for that ritual, you have that kind of commitment, there will be reciprocation from the members. They will start showing up also. So please be mindful of that. Don't get disappointed if your weekly delta is not moving. Community and ritual is definitely a long-term game. So while you're creating something, you remain patient and be patient and be consistent with your members. And while you are being patient, the rituals also evolve. You might get feedback. You might realize new things based on how members are responding or how they are perceiving it. So being open to change is very important. Ritual is not sacred in that sense. I mean, a particular ritual can be sacred for your community, but the design of ritual is not sacred. You have to adapt and you have to make sure that people are able to relate with it. Surprise means different things for different members, different generations. How do you make sure that there is a surprise element in your ritual? If it is something very predictable, very monotonous, it has the risk of getting downgraded as a task or getting downgraded as a unilateral thing. So make sure that while you're designing rituals, you can design it in an interesting way. And we would like to do a separate roundtable in probably one of the upcoming sessions where we get deeper into designing rituals better and taking ideas. Today's session is largely to put you on this journey of understanding rituals better. Then you can reach out to us. We can do something together. You can participate. And we can take that further from there. Experimentation also naturally is part of that. So we'll move on to the next slide here. These are some of the examples from LikeMinds community, where just to put in perspective, if somebody is celebrating a particular accomplishment, like you see on the screen one on the left-hand side, people responding, thanking, expressing happiness on that is a form of community ritual also. It doesn't have to be something quirky all the time, something very laborsome all the time. It can be something very simple that one member has done for other member, and you as community manager can scale that up to the larger community, and gradually you'll see that people are creating their own rituals. There are smaller clusters inside your community where different rituals get created, and you have to constantly be on the lighthouse to see who is doing what, where, and how you can scale up further. Creating events is another form of ritual, where if you have, if people know what they're signing up for, people know. I know that I just mentioned about not keeping it predictable and retaining the surprise element. People also need stability and consistency, right? So if you do something regularly, if you show up for something regularly, people start building that habit. They start having that anticipation that this particular day is designated for this event, and they start participating. So events very much qualify to be a form of ritual. And on the third screenshot that you see, we have shared with you an example of one of our past roundtable events where we spoke about festivals. And we want to just advocate and encourage you to look at unconventional places for ideas around rituals. It doesn't have to be only blogs written by community managers. Rituals are something that are there in almost every culture. You can probably find them in the most unlikely places. So you can go and check out that recording on the LikeMinds YouTube channel also, where we have spoken about festivals. How can we take inspiration from festivals? What are some ideas and events and programming that we can do in our communities around festivals, inspired from festivals? So because it has a direct connect with rituals, we thought we would encourage you to see that, and you can always share your feedback about it with us. Moving on to the last slide, and then we'll break out into the rooms, do's and don'ts. Now we have sort of given you a interesting, less interesting overview of rituals with our share of learnings. We have this list of 5 things for you. When you are doing a ritual, you have that clarity, you have that understanding, right? Because you have spent so much of time. But the members need the right orientation. You need to explain to them what you're doing and how you're doing, so that they can really understand it, connect with it, and grasp it. don't ask without giving back. If you design your ritual like a referral program where your objective is to just take advantage out of your members, probably it won't work. It has to be something where the members feel heard, members feel that it is for them, it is not for you. And gradually the compounding effect starts playing out, and when people come together for themselves and when they have that assurance, your brand and your community, the larger goal of creating value for each member also gets fulfilled. So while you're designing them, don't design it like a task where you are on the receiving end alone. It has to be something mutual.
I would love to share. So I had about 5 people in my room, all right, and one of them left, so we were left with 4+1. Everybody was in the ideation stage of community building. They were doing multiple, they were experimenting with multiple events, which has to be turned into ritual. The insight which came out was that the members are not turning up. Even if you want to, engage them, there's like a lot of dropouts. So the challenge of the ideation stage of community building is what was part of my room. So the whole idea is to do things consistently, keep on showing up, keep on doing that, so that once an activity picks up, which becomes a ritual, there will be a backstory to it. So I shared an example with All India Startups of Clubhouse Club, where I joined in about a little more than a year ago when they were about 5,000 members strong. All right. Today it is going to reach about 100K in a couple of days. It is 99.5K already. We started with Founders Fridays, Hiring Mondays, Tech Tuesdays, and these were the rooms which were hosted. And after a couple of months, people were looking forward to it. Okay, what is going to happen in the next thing? And that is something which became sort of a ritual. So that's from my side.
Lovely. I think just a moment before we go to the next volunteer leader, on our table, the theme in a crux was what is not a ritual, because everybody was coming up with these ideas of we do this, we do that, but is that a ritual, or how do you understand ritual being different from other kind of things that you do? But we'll come to that in a couple of minutes. I would let Neerav to go next.
Yeah, we had 8 members in the room, and many of have started the communities and they are doing quite well. And they don't have as such big rituals across, but they have, some of them have some innovative thinking community, which do meetups and brainstorming on every Fridays. They meet and do this as a ritual. And when we have Miss Prabha, she has a good number of people around from different zone of platforms on basis of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and all. And she's been serving since last 30 years to the industry. And we had Amit, he's on YouTuber guy and has a good subscribers following on the community of YouTube, as he discussed. So yeah, they have some 5 posts to be shared for particular category on weekdays, whatever they have decided, like a number post, a new idea post or something like that. So they have some base rituals in form, and they are now, after being here, maybe I'm sure they will be motivated to plan and carry on more rituals in their communities. 3 to 4 members who are here to learn about what type of formation of community is possible out and what are the rituals they can go ahead with. So they were here to learn through LikeMinds and communityhood. So that was the discussion.
What I gather largely is on both the tables, there is curiosity around understanding rituals more and what to do, rather than things that people have already done. Since
absolutely.
Both of you have been doing roundtables frequently, Neerav and Vineet, do you think there can be a standalone event around digging deeper into rituals? And what would be some of the things that you would share in that kind of an event, that understanding rituals more?
Yeah, what I have been, because I've also been to many other communities from around the world, and I'm being the part of that community. Even I am learning what rituals they are following, and I have created my own rituals for my community, being into event industry and serving from long. So I feel how I can connect more through events. So I have multiple options and multiple ideas which I am non-stop, like I'm doing it for my community, and there I'm getting good engagement and support from there. Because uh, being offline, I have seen because of the COVID, it was not happening offline, but from the year we have been doing offline, and yeah, engaging events and being there together is always a fun, and it has a different vibe. So it has helped me quite a lot, that meeting up offline and doing events and engaging community and planning out the rituals has really helped me out in
Sure.
engaging the community members more. And it could be done, as you said, one particularly digging section where the people who wants to learn more about building their community, because I'm seeing since last almost 3 to 4 weeks, I'm seeing there are many participants who are coming here to even see and learn how to build a community from scratch. So I've guided them, like, you connect to community minds and follow the last presentations which have been done, and join the group, and yeah, give your queries so that they could learn and go ahead with their building up a community in a proper way out.
Yeah, so my take is like a lot of people come to explore, which is a good thing. If you get a little veteran, joining the community, you are so excited because you get to learn from them that what has worked and what has not worked. So that is the interesting piece. It looks like that whatever learnings we have had till date from our past roundtable experiences, that can be converted into a self-paced online course, which can actually be a great level playing field for anybody who's exploring or growing their community, so that they have a quick reference check. I mean, this is a crowdsourced knowledge and information what we have. Why not just productize it and make it available to everybody? That is my 2 cents to it.
Absolutely. So with that, I think I'll also chip in with what got discussed on our table, because unlike these tables, the members on my table, Daksh, Nikita, Nishant, Santosh, and Anuj, of course, all of us were able to take a step forward and understand the idea of rituals a bit more. Like on our table, the idea was not what rituals to do. The idea was what is exactly a ritual and what is not a ritual. And people shared the events that they do, whether in the form of a quiz or a poll or a sort of a review session that they do. And they thought that it is a form of ritual because they are doing it consistently. And during the conversation, we came up with the idea that in a line, ritual is not something that you do for the members. Ritual is done something by the members. So the community team doing something consistently is not a ritual. The members doing something for themselves is a ritual. You can, of course, seed that. You can, of course, amplify that. You can, of course, create conditions. And the second aspect that we came up with, when we think of rituals, what is the most sustainable way to create rituals, and what are the most relevant rituals? How to find them? Because it can be an ocean of ideas, right? Ocean of inspiration. So we found out that if you let the members create the rituals themselves and you just keep observing and listening, those are the most powerful ways of creating sustainable rituals. Often rituals don't get created consciously. They are certain flashes of activities or actions which some people do for a certain period of time, and gradually other people pipe in, and then it becomes a bigger thing in itself. And still it might be an island of possibilities for your larger community, but you can observe that and you can look at ways to scale them. So when you're looking for inspiration before going anywhere else, it might be a great idea to talk to your own members and see what is happening in different islands. And specifically 2 things. Nishant asked that if you share news in your community regularly, is that a ritual? And people discuss that topic. They come around that topic, they post on it, they comment on it. But will that qualify as a ritual? That's sort of still something held in my mind, whether you can really qualify it as a ritual or not. But of course, if it's just an announcement, it is not a ritual. But if it's a regular announcement which is driving participation, then act of announcing can potentially become a ritual. And what better if that announcement is made by some of your community members themselves instead of your own team. But having said that, you might have to seed it initially. So those are the broad dimensions that we spoke about. There were a couple of other points also. Thank you so much once again. See you in one of the upcoming